and with them at school. We're not addressing emotional support.
Right, I took that as they just misunderstood. You're talking about 12.
I'm talking about 16.
Okay, because 12 said the same thing. Oh yeah, 16 is the big long one.
Yeah.
And they talk about allergies and maybe this isn't the one I talked about.
in public. Given all the restrictions, I can see the board is trying to come up with a policy that in essence will probably never accommodate an emotional support animal.
It got confused.
I see this policy and what it allows as another accommodation of the minority that infringes upon the majority and will be disruptive to the learning environment. Even students who are blind typically rely on a cane or a helper. They don't bring their seeing eye dogs into the classroom. Well, we can't deny them. I mean,
I just think they're getting it confused between a service animal, a therapeutic, and emotional support.
Right. This isn't someone bringing
And we
their
are,
own dog
I mean,
in.
again, when we really talked about this, it was, are we recording yet?
Oh, we are now? Yes.
okay, then we need to call the policy committee meeting to order. So
All right.
please let me know when you're going to record, okay?
Okay.
Okay, so meeting is on order. Yay! Go ahead.
When we really kind of, the vision of this was less about specific to a student, it was more specific to a school and, you know, a dog just adding, and it was part of the culture and environment. It wasn't, we're not saying individual students or individual teachers are bringing in their emotional support. So I think between the three, they're just kind of confusing that.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, so, I mean, for the most part, the comments are positive,
Right.
you know, or, help if I could click the right arrow.
Somebody said they thought it was well written.
Maybe someone we know.
That was
I'm not sure.
A comprehensive, a lot of hard work went into this now. Lots of expertise.
I appreciate everybody on the committee.
You should probably bring the donuts.
That's funny.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, so it doesn't look like there's any language clarification that people want other than potentially,
And it looks like Rosanna did most of the follow-up either by phone or email.
okay. What's LM?
Left message.
Oh, okay. Okay.
You know how you like acronyms in education.
Having come from an abundant amount of acronyms, and I'm like, what do you mean?
Yeah, so there isn't any
Okay.
language change. Now
No.
it's just, we included, so there's the policy, we have the plan, we have the permission, so if we don't want to make any changes to this, or if we're good, then it should, all three of those forms would be ready to go to the board.
Right. Okay.
Do we want to look at it one last time?
No.
Okay.
There's nothing to change. We don't need to look at it.
Okay, so then I'm gonna just pull this whole thing off and put it at the bottom, and then we can move on to the next one. This will go to board. So Roseanne, I'm gonna link it down at the bottom.
All right, thank you.
Do we know if Lisa has gotten anything from the attorney?
She has,
Okay.
but I don't know the specifics. I haven't seen, but I do know that she was in conversation with them yesterday and received something today,
Okay.
but I have not seen it.
Okay. So an attorney was going to draft a resolution and a potential policy, or look at our policy. I don't. Yeah. With regard to controversial issues in academic freedom, along with Student clubs? Was it student club or no?
I kind of encompassing all of the things that are controversial that we're trying to just have it be more parent focused versus.
Well, the board asked specifically for it to address the student clubs because that has to get some resolve, and it needs to be resolved like sooner rather than later. So Lisa met with a parent group, and there was an attorney that is willing to draft up. What's the name of the group that she met with? Idaho Parents' Rights in Education. Yeah, so she met with that group. There was a reference or a recommendation to an attorney who's willing to draft up something as a foundation for us to build off of. So I don't know if we want to venture into anything or wait to see what the attorney has and see what her language is and how we can adopt it for our parents in this district. Input on that? Maybe.
So just there was a starting point. I know Lisa, pretty late in the day, she was running out, she had to go to Twin, and so she got a draft and was gonna look at it in detail and then do a follow-up phone call.
Yeah, because she brought it up at the board meeting, and the board was like, please get the attorney involved from this group so that we can have a starting point. Because when we draft it, we'll have to send it to an attorney, and just to make sure we're not crossing any lines that we can't cross. And so I had hoped that it would be what we would have tonight to work on, but we don't have it yet. I'd like input. Hello.
Hi.
I think that's fine. Like, I do think we should have legal counsel involved in the drafting
Yes.
of it.
Okay.
I think I made that comment last time.
You did, yeah.
Yeah, that's fine with me.
Okay.
Yeah, and we would have had it, she just got it pretty late in the day and didn't have a chance to go through it in detail,
Yeah.
and she does have some follow-up questions, so
Okay,
before she
great.
presents it, she wants to really understand it, so.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's fine to punt it till we have that, or
Okay.
if you wanted to like brainstorm like topics or things that we think we should make sure are covered, so we could maybe send that to them or send it to the superintendent.
Right.
See if it's
Well, what
comprehensive.
we asked about weaving, well, what was, I'm trying to remember, sorry, I have a foggy brain. When she brought it up at the meeting, at the board meeting, she talked about meeting with the parents group and that, you know, they had this recommendation, and because the board acknowledges we have to take a stand, I mean, we can't keep dragging this out. We directed her specific to gender, etc., to have the attorney draft something. And then Lisa asked me after the meeting about, what about everything else? And I said, well, let's do it twofold. I want one specific to gender, then I want one specific to everything else that we see as a point of contention within our district, that maybe we can wrap it all up into one policy so that we're making sure parents understand, and it's very crystal clear where this district stands, what we do teach in class, what we don't, what's a parent issue, what's not, you know, which it's all parent issues, but you know, that we as a district aren't going to take the role as the parent in educating on this platform.
The other piece we talked about including is just an explanation of what some of the opt-in forms are and what they're attached to. So just here is on some of these issues that we are required to teach, this is where it's an opt-in or an opt-out kind of a thing. So just having a document that encompasses all of that.
Because primarily, we don't want just opt-ins or just opt-outs.
Right.
We want it opt-in or opt-out.
Right.
You have to make a choice. So that there's just clarification that the parents know what the kids are being taught, and the school knows that the parents are informed. It's critical to some of us that we do that. So,
There's transparency.
yeah. Okay.
So if we're gonna wait, we could jump to the just all animals in educational programs, just so like when the hamster or the, you know, wants to be the class pet kind of a thing, we could jump to that. Or we could jump down to the controversial issues policy. We did update that one, but we never finalized the parental option
for
form. So
Okay.
that one would be an easy one to just look over and look at, because we're already kind of doing it, but we didn't present the option form. And then we could jump to the school meal charges.
I know the board did want the policy committee to work on school meal charges. That's one of them that they had requested to be worked on, as well as student clubs. We're still trying to hear from the attorney. Duties of the treasurer is also on the board's agenda, as far as getting that done because of change in the lady who's retiring.
Right.
So where do we wanna jump to?
I think we need to jump to student clubs,
Okay.
seriously. Because the board needs to address this. Why is this doing this? Oh, that's crazy. Just a little history. Currently, our district allows sponsored and non-sponsored clubs, right? A non-sponsored club is that anybody, for any reason, can have a club within our school district. Sponsored clubs, there has to be a teacher. The school stands behind the club, and it can only be for academic or school-focused thingamabobs. We need to figure out what, whether we want to remain inclusive of everything. If we allow non-sponsored clubs, we have to allow them all, regardless if they fit within
Yep.
our ideology of this district. If we allow only sponsored clubs, that limits what we can provide to the students. The board has even entertained the idea of just not offering clubs at all because of the potential for conflict between sponsored and non-sponsored. At the last board meeting, there have been several patrons that have spoken in favor of the clubs because it's beneficial for their kids, and I agree, clubs are beneficial.
Keeping kids connected.
Exactly. I mean, because not all kids are gonna go into athletes or student government, but to have other clubs outside of sports related or government, you know, it's good.
Mhm.
So this needs to be addressed. What we want to do and what we want to bring to the board with regard to this district.
For the, requirements for them to be sponsored or non, what's the distinction right now, or is there not a technical distinction,
What do you mean by this?
like our sponsored clubs, only athletic, or,
It lays it out here.
They have a teacher.
has a teacher involved?
So,
Which
looking
one are
at
you looking at there, Nate?
the second heading,
draft.
sponsored and non-sponsored, ISBA blog post 9622.
Oh, I'm on the wrong one, that's why, sorry.
So you're saying they're thinking about just ending all clubs? Because I feel like the distinction between sponsored and non-sponsored here should achieve what they're talking about. Because sponsored clubs that have the support and direction of the school or charter, they're on subjects related to classes the school offers. Isn't that sufficiently narrow to avoid controversial clubs?
With,
That is, okay. I'm not sure what you're
He's looking at the
Nate.
ISBA one.
At the ISBA.
Oh, this is a
model.
blog post. This isn't.
Yeah.
This isn't policy. Ah, that makes sense. Okay.
Okay, which Yeah, see, the problem is if you do non-sponsored,
Yeah.
you are able to allow, faith-based, you're able to allow, any
Pretty much anything.
type of club,
And the only requirement.
political clubs.
Yeah, it has to be, if a kid has to initiate it, it's supposed to be initiated by students.
Right,
A staff member has to be there for the safety purposes, but they're not supposed, I mean, it's not sponsored by the school, so.
So the faculty member has no participation in.
Mm-mm.
correct,
Okay,
yeah, somebody.
So it
would-
could be whatever.
Right,
so that opens up liability.
it does.
I mean, I don't know what the parameters are around safety and harm.
Well, that's what the staff members are there to make sure that everything is safe in that sense, so, but it is, you know, it has to be initiated by students, so if a student wants to start a club, they can, and they just need to have a place and get permission, and then a staff member willing to attend those meetings, but they're not participating in the meetings.
Is, is there like a rules around like how many students have to be participating in sponsored, is a non-sponsored club like 2 people, 3 people?
It could be, as long as they fill out the application and the board approves it, which the challenge with non-sponsored clubs is if you allow one non-sponsored, you must allow all of them, otherwise you're infringing on their
No, it's very,
freedom of,
yeah,
what is it?
Equal
assembly.
access, yeah.
Yes, thank you. If you don't have non-sponsored clubs, and you only go sponsored, then it really needs to be tailored to the school environment. So, I know the board did kind of contemplate like chess club. Well, on the surface, it seems like that's kind of not really
Non-sponsored,
school,
yeah.
but there is mathematics,
There's like game theory
logistics,
behind it, all
critical
kinds of
theory.
stuff,
Yeah, so I mean, there are,
Critical thinking.
yeah, it
It's gonna be a
could
slippery
be
slope.
a sponsored club. I mean,
That's where it
but,
gets hard, it's not black
Yeah.
and white.
right,
Sorry, I just.
so,
Yeah, cause even if you call it educational clubs are allowed,
Everything.
Right,
there's gonna be
educational,
lots of different
yeah.
definitions of educational.
correct.
Well, and then it's, do you tie it to a specific course?
Right,
And so, if you do that, there will be clubs that have been long existing, like chess club that,
Yeah.
that,
Or you could start a chess class.
Yeah.
I don't know, you could tie chess club to math and STEM activities.
I mean, you can.
Is that too much to then though ask the board to use their discretion sort of when things like chess club or other clubs come in that aren't necessarily tied to a class but are.
Do you have students come make a argument at the board meeting?
Right, but does the
Present
board
their-
want to be the ones to say, we have decided no versus our very clear policy doesn't allow it?
Right.
well, the board likes the very clear policy.
Yes.
However, it is the board's job to approve or deny the clubs. For years, the board has not been doing that, which is kind of why the clubs became a thing last year, is we asked for information and no one could provide it, and found out that no one was really following. There wasn't, in all fairness, there wasn't really a protocol set up. So we set the protocol up, and now we're going back through going, okay, we gotta make sure everything's I's are dotted and T's are crossed, so that when the baton is passed, it stays in flow.
Is this policy, I think it's 3225, is this in action right now or is
Yes.
this, okay, so this is what
This is current, what we have.
looks like,
Yeah.
okay. And that's why there are also non-sponsored clubs?
Correct.
Got it, okay. I mean, I also don't wanna get rid of clubs. It seems like going the sponsored route and allowing the board discretion seems fair. I'm trying to clean up, I haven't read through this all, but make sure the policy is clear, like these are supposed to be academic clubs, or.
Does the board want discretion? Because I feel like that's opening you up to liability if your policy is like open to interpretation anyway.
Yeah.
Correct. I don't know necessarily that board wants discretion, the board wants direction.
Yeah.
And this, I mean, we've got a couple board members that are like, just get rid of them because it's not worth the hassle. It's not worth, I
Yeah.
mean, because the board members have gotten a couple of threatening emails
Right.
to sue the district and that sort of stuff, which we're like, okay, we don't want to deal with this. We're doing everything we can to try and protect the district. So, but in all fairness, you know, I know there are some parents that like the faith-based clubs, so if we do only go sponsored, those go away. We've got some parents that, what are some of the other non-sponsored clubs?
These non-sponsored clubs are mostly probably not going to disappear, right? They're probably just going to stop being associated with the school. Like they will continue to exist, just not in official capacity at
Yes,
school.
they just
Yeah.
can't be at the school. It's not like we're getting rid of people, we're just saying you can't use our buildings.
Right.
For the protections of our own kids. Another option that I was thinking about is that if we maintain status quo, but then require parental permission into any of the clubs we offer, then that allows parents insight into what their kids are doing in the school building. Because that's part of the concern parents have with, you know, they just don't want their kids going to whatever they don't want them going to, but they don't
Right.
know they're going because they don't know it exists. I mean, it's this whole trickle thing.
And
So-
anybody could say that they're staying after school for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Because oftentimes, and I just would think that, you know, when you think about sponsored versus non-sponsored, if we start getting into clubs that potentially are controversial, I can't imagine you know a lot of teachers that want to be a part just
Right.
because we have resolutions that say otherwise, and
Mhm.
so that will probably drive the bus a little bit.
Right. Well, and maybe the other policy that we're not working on tonight, you know, like you sort of what you're saying, if there's this other policy, maybe there still can be sponsored clubs, but like the chess club would probably still be okay, even with this other policy, but other clubs might not
The chess
be.
club seems particularly easy to make an excuse for because you probably have a computer science class where you can like actually have a chess section where you like write chess as a part of the computer class. It's not a hard game to
Save the
code.
chess club.
Yeah, I feel like that's an easier thing. But like,
Pick it
I feel like that's an
Maybe
exception.
That's
Most
your
clubs
example.
are.
You keep bringing it. You really like chess.
He
don't
does.
you?
I play a little bit.
It's a
Yeah.
very
Play a little bit.
educational game.
It is an educational game,
And
exactly.
also
My kids love
too,
it.
I mean, I don't know if like in Washington State, the chess clubs like went around and had competitions against each other.
Mhm.
Yeah.
No, they did.
Well, Twin Lakes had like a chess club after school thing.
Mhm.
I think Garwood, one of them. Anyway,
Yeah.
kids participated in, and it was fun.
I was bringing it up mainly because I feel like it's an exception though. Like most things are not going to be that easy to tie in if you're going to want to like save an existing club.
Well, and I don't necessarily know that the board is trying to save any specific club, but I also know the board doesn't like to get threatening emails,
Right.
especially me. But we want to make something that's fair and that supports the district's values and supports what the parents want for their
Right.
children. And the reality is a lot of these clubs are at the middle and high school, or mostly high school, but middle. And I've been finding out that there's clubs at elementary, but we don't really call them clubs. They're just sort of after school activities. So then is that a club, and should it be going through the same process? Because if kids are just going to it, I mean, I'm sure at the elementary level, parents have a little bit more insight into what their kids are doing. But if it merits being a club, then we should call it a club and just let it go through the same process.
Yeah, and at elementary they have permission slips because they're staying after school, so
Right.
they have to. So
Right.
parents have to pick up. So
Yeah.
Somebody should.
right. So yeah, but like when we do cross country, it's they call it the cross country club, but it's not really a club. It's just they do 6 weeks of
Call
cross.
it a club.
Right.
I
Isn't
mean,
it a team? It's not like an
Well,
official
I mean,
sports team.
it's
Is it?
right. Sometimes when like
I
we
don't
have,
remember it
they'll do a
being
chess
a
club
club.
for 3 weeks
Yeah.
at a school and teach kids how to play chess, but it's a 3-week kind of. So some people have called it an activity. Some people have called it a camp. I mean, it's not.
I was gonna say.
It's not really apples to apples, but
Right, right.
there's really, I mean, if a school wants to do it, I mean, some schools have done STEM activities and, you know, it's a 4-week program, and it's 1 day a week where they get to do fun science stuff, and so they call it club because it's just a word, but it's not, it's not the same as at the high school or middle school, so whatever we wanna call it, we probably should have a process for it, so there's some transparency.
That would be
I
awesome.
mean, again, but parents are giving permission because they have to transport, so.
Those little people.
Right.
Yes.
So do we wanna tackle one of these and just start kind of going down? I know we have a draft going.
Yeah.
And is it, to your point, Michelle, it's, the whole thing is an opt-in situation, and so does that negate all of it, because then parents are giving permission?
I don't know, it's just something that I
Mhm.
had thought of, because I don't like controversial stuff. I mean, I know where I stand on things, but I can't force my perspectives or beliefs on other people. So why not find a way that meets the needs of those that want to do something controversial, but making sure the parents are informed. Because, I mean,
What does that look like as far as like advertisements,
I know.
announcements?
Yeah, I was thinking the
Like
same
that
thing.
doesn't
This is
sit
why
well with me,
I'm in
even if
favor
I
of,
have
like-
to opt in.
okay,
Right.
Same with me.
fair enough.
I have the same
That's-
thought. I would, I guess, I have a clear opinion on this. I think non-sponsored clubs should be eliminated and sponsored clubs should
Yeah.
stay.
I
That's my
agree.
view.
If we're gonna
I
keep
agree
them,
Okay.
I say throw them all out,
Mhm.
personally.
Sponsored included?
Yeah, I just
No.
say like, let's
We
find,
need-
let's, like, people can find ways, if they're already meeting, one, how
Right.
many, is it really meeting a need? Two,
Right.
if it is, I don't know, is that the school's responsibility, I
Just-
guess?
Do
There is
schools have
concern
a-
about that as well.
Complete list of all the clubs that meet on a
We
regular
do
basis?
now.
We didn't used to, but we do now, 'cause some of us have been pushing.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what, do you have a number for sponsored versus unsponsored?
Let's see if I can find that in my little.
Because then also too, impact of students, I think that's a thing we should look
So
at.
you're
like-
feeling like there should be, in order to have a club, there's a criteria, like you have to have 10 students that are interested, something like that? Is that what you're
Possibly,
saying?
but then, you think about like if we get rid of all, we get rid of some, how many students are we impacting? Especially, you think about, the non-sponsored clubs, that would include the faith-based clubs, I know Timberlake, I'm pretty sure has an LGBTQ club, I have an elementary school student, so I don't know. So I don't know how many students that would impact, and would they be able to find something in the community to fill that need? And could that be a resource that counselors might have on hand? I mean, I know like the churches do an amazing job at the school, so I think that faith-based need is pretty much picked up because, for Spirit Lake especially, Real Life has a very avid youth program, and they meet on Wednesday evenings, and they meet in the Real Life offices, and
Mhm.
Yeah,
we've done-
but that's completely separate from the school, it's not a
True.
school thing, so.
True.
And they also have one in Athol, and that's at the community center, again, it's not at the school.
So would that fill in for those students that are attending faith-based clubs?
But then it's, parents are transporting, or they're driving, like, cause it's not directly after school. Cause the other piece of this, and this piece I don't know, is even if we had a sign up, so if it's directly after school, I mean, how many kids actually go to the club? Cause you wouldn't know if you're picking up your kid at 5. If it's a non-sponsored and it's student-led, do they take attendance, do they?
Right, check permission slips. I used to forge my parents' signature all the time in high
Yeah, I was
school.
about to say, like,
So, I mean,
those were my
not like,
concerns
I
with the
got
parents'
A's, it was
slip,
fine, but
right?
like, but yeah, like I
Your
mean.
parents are gonna watch the policy committee video.
Yeah, get this lady off the group. But, you know, that would be a concern for me too, you know, my kids are younger, but, you know, someday I'm
Right.
sure they will learn how to.
I mean, I
afford a
remember, I was like, oh, I'm going to this club. No, I'm really walking downtown with my friends.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, and I think by having a club at the school after school, there is this assumption as a parent, they're safe, there's eyes on them, there's whatever being watched. When really that wouldn't be the case. And I think ultimately the district opens themselves up for a really big liability of kids doing inappropriate things, going places maybe they I don't know. I just see parents being that could be a problem for non-sponsored.
Yeah, that's like a completely separate problem. Independent
Yeah.
problem for non-sponsored.
Yeah.
No, I agree.
I mean, even as it is, like even just talking about, this isn't club related, but just the way lunch works, you know what I mean? I asked a very poignant question to Mr. Hoffman, like, okay, open campus for these many kids. Kids hang out in the parking lot, kids came out in cars. Like, what are you doing for safety? It's like, it's a big concern. We have things in place, but we don't have enough in place, you know? Something about non-sponsored without adults being present.
An adult has to be present for a non-sponsor.
Okay.
They're just not facilitating.
Facilitating.
Mhm. But for safety reasons, they are. But I mean, it's the same as if you go to a volleyball, basketball.
Right.
I mean, you
They're
can-
there.
If you're gonna
Yeah.
lie to your parents,
Yeah.
you're gonna
Yeah.
lie.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And you could say you're going and hang out in the parking
Yeah.
lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no one's chasing them now to be like, you didn't sign in, you didn't show up to club today.
Right, calling your parents.
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Where is
if
so-and-so?
you
Yeah.
Are supposed to be at a
Mhm.
volleyball game.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I remember, and I'm old, my high school ended up changing club policy. And if you missed 3 club meetings, they kicked you out because you were not there for the right reasons. And then somehow, some way, I can't remember how, I remember they managed to fit club meetings into the school day. I think they fit them into a study hour or something like that. So there wasn't a lot of after-school time.
Wow. That's interesting.
Yeah, now that I was thinking about it, because I remember some people had in-school suspension during club time. Not
That's a
me,
bummer.
not me.
Yeah.
No, not
We all
me.
thought it was
Just
you.
friends. I just remember like
I was
going
like, you have in-school suspension, Jacqueline's working.
Wow.
I
I
was
just
wild people. Is
We had a highly
Classroom.
experienced group. That's what that means. It's highly experienced.
Nate was playing chess.
So he says.
Diversity of experiences.
Well, so far I think I found 3 or 4 different clubs that are not sponsored. They're non-sponsored. But I also don't think that some of these clubs fall in line with what requires to be a sponsored club. I mean, like the parameters for being sponsored within the policy.
So some that are technically listed as sponsored right now might not actually technically be.
Correct.
Yeah.
Or maybe not. Okay, so,
Just a reminder, Michelle, we did talk about even possibly at the last maybe 5 or 10, trying to set up some norms for moving forward into
That's right.
too.
we did.
So, just a reminder, if we're gonna finish a little early, we probably have about 20 minutes, and then we wanna talk about what that could look like.
Okay.
It would be interesting to know how many kids are in the ones that are currently active. Like how active are they?
That's
How
what I was
many? Yeah,
trying
how
to
many
figure out,
are?
trying to
Do you
know.
want me to
Right.
get that information?
Do you have it?
No, I can get it there.
I think it
can
would be
ask.
valuable to
Okay.
have.
You know, well, I guess, you know, you all did not have the COVID impact like many other districts did. It was like I just feel like sometimes that these students are constantly having things taken away from them, and on top of all that they lost during COVID, it's
I
kind
hear
of
ya.
like blow after blow after blow.
Right.
I'll reach out to both high schools and middle schools and find out how many kids have participated in the clubs, and from that list I'll put a number,
Okay.
or I'll make a spreadsheet with the number.
Okay, that would be great, and if we could include whether it's non or,
Mm-hmm.
that would be really good.
That'll help with that decision. Since it sounds like, at least for at the time, the sponsored people are feeling okay with, do we wanna look at the sponsored language?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we can do that. Or we can just start at the top, and again, you know me, I like to take my fluff out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we can just I'll get the number of clubs that we currently have at each of the 4 schools, and then how much participation we have between sponsored and non-sponsored for each club.
Okay.
You guys all have a copy of the draft that she's looking at, right? It's the one that's
Yeah.
on the, okay.
Yes.
That second sentence, the paragraph that you're on, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I feel like sponsored club in the draft is less restrictive than the definition in this document, and I think probably not restrictive enough.
Okay.
You want more defined?
Yeah, sponsored club shall mean a club which is directly under the sponsorship, direction, and control of the school. I think there should be some kind of language. Maybe I missed it, but I did read through it twice. I think there should be some kind of language like you have in this blog post that says, are clubs that have the support and direction of the district or charter school. They're on subjects related to the classes the school offers. And I think the word related should probably be removed, or maybe they're on subjects.
You could say aligned.
Aligned, I feel like that's still not strong enough. They're on subjects on which there are classes at this. I guess I'm trying to think of wording that says that they're on subjects that are the same as the subjects that are taught in classes at the school. They're on subjects already offered in classes at the school, or something like that.
So, and based on subjects.
See, I don't even like the word based on.
Okay.
It's too much wiggle room.
Okay, so
On subjects for which the school already offers classes. So I feel like my
Or
wording's
you
a
could
little
say
bit awkward.
specific to the subjects the school offers.
Specific to the, or restricted to subjects that the school offers.
There you go.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Not subjects restricted, yeah.
That's strong.
and must be restricted to subjects offered at the
Yeah,
school.
I like that, yeah.
Okay. Any other more meat that we need to add to that?
I think that's good.
Are there, I mean, I know there's sports like volleyball, basketball, are there athletic clubs also where that might not be a subject offered at school, but,
Yeah, like, is there a pep club?
right, do we need to include like subjects or athletic?
If the sport is taught in PE, then it's taught.
And most of, the activities like drama, well, there's a drama class. If you're doing FFA, there's an FFA class. So
Is there an FFA class?
I
Yeah,
don't even know
there
what
is.
FFA is. What is FFA?
Future Farmers in America.
Oh, cool.
It's like the next step up from 4-H.
Okay. 4-H, I know.
I just learned that.
Oh, I don't know. Is it? You think it's this next step up from 4-H?
That's what the teacher basically
Oh.
said to me.
That's what I thought it was.
I grew up in
She's like, it's
Kentucky.
for-
They were on very equal.
She's like, it's where you go after 4-H when you get to like high school
True, true,
level.
true,
you're so cute. That's what the teacher said.
Yeah.
Mrs. Kelly, I think her name was.
They have these cool little blue corduroy jackets. They probably don't have. Do they still have those?
Mhm.
Okay.
They still do.
Change this to.
Or just clubs are restricted?
What?
Clubs are instead of must be. Clubs
Yeah.
are restricted.
Do we need to say there that the board also must approve the club, or is that later in this document?
Well, when you meander on down to .1, under the following general guidelines,
Okay.
says each proposed club must complete and submit a request form to the principal. It should be the principal, not, there's no designee. activities of the club and the proposed club shall have the student perform, the student group, perform host club activities. Good Lord.
Oh, actually, law prevents parental permission to participate.
Does it really?
Yeah, the school cannot ban a particular club or require parental permission to participate in its activities because the topic of the meeting is because the school deems the club controversial.
Where are you reading that?
It's in the
It's
blog.
in the ISBA blog post.
It's a strange law.
Isn't it, it's federal law.
That explains it.
Yep.
That is crazy.
So there you go. Another vote towards getting rid of the non-sponsored. Because that covers non-sponsored.
Yeah. I did not know that.
Instead of saying reject, can we say deny?
Okay, but I like it.
So I already ordered a stamp.
I just feel like kids and, you know, deny just seems a little nicer. We're not rejecting you personally.
No, I like
But we are denying you
rejection.
personally.
What?
But we are denying you personally.
So also too, it states, while a district or charter school can comply with this law by prohibiting all non-curricular clubs or non-sponsored clubs, it would have to exercise care in its definition of what is or what is not a
Yeah.
curricular club. So you were on point with that, really defining that sponsored club.
And this is law, so basically that threw out the idea of parental
Yep.
consent.
Isn't that just ISBA's blog?
No, it is, but it's the Equal Access Act 20 USC for, yeah, so that's the federal statute that applies to it.
Hmm.
Okay, or require parental permission to participate. Okay.
Which then leads to the conclusion that you just don't do non-sponsored clubs, correct?
In my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What a law.
Well, that's.
I mean, but then you cite the law, we don't do non-sponsored clubs because,
Right.
right, here's the
Risk and
code.
liability.
Yeah. Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's what you can bounce back to if parents get it from
Blame the feds, as usual.
Can't blame COVID anymore. Every corporate shortfall in the last 2 years. It's always come back.
Some corporates. Some corporates made gangbusters.
Yeah, that's true. Most of them have since plummeted again.
Yeah, actually, getting rid of non-sponsored clubs, because you have to be very careful because it's a very gray area. And they talk about really maintaining a clear separation because it could land you in hot water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do we have a student constitution?
That's what I was wondering.
Have to ask though.
You have a student handbook, surely, right?
We do have a
do.
student handbook.
I have a comment on the flyer that went out. It's unrelated, but after the meeting.
The levy flyer?
Yeah.
Hmm.
I thought the levy was supposed to be on this past.
March.
Oh, it's the March.
Mhm.
Oh. There's a typo on number 5 too, so we can go
Oh,
and
good catch.
Do you think on 5 at the end where it says in violation of any law or ordinance that we also need to say like or district policy, or is that a given?
Nothing is a given anymore. I
Okay.
have come to
True.
that conclusion. Common sense is subjective.
We're really close to the bottom, but we have about 5 minutes left, so do we wanna keep going, or do we wanna talk about maybe some roles and?
We can do both.
Okay.
Why would student council be permanently terminating? Where are we empowering the student council to terminate the opportunity of any sponsored club?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't,
Student council, if appropriate.
I can't think of a scenario where that would be appropriate,
Right.
though.
Yeah.
It's not like in universities you have a student council that oversees like fraternities and
Right.
sororities and that
Yeah.
sort of
Right.
thing.
I hope we don't have fraternities.
You probably do, just don't know.
Very true, very true.
Funny, we don't.
Very sure.
Positive.
We had a sorority in high school.
I had no idea what a fraternity
That
was
just
until I went to
sounds
college.
It was, yeah.
Apparently they don't
It was
exist in
really
Basically
Canada.
just sports
And then,
teams
and
in
then
high
our,
school.
and then our
Football,
school administration came
soccer,
in and
they're
told
their
us
own.
that we had to include everybody, so it ended up being like all the girls.
Yeah.
It was dumb, looking back.
I have the same comment on 6 that we might wanna add to the end, not just of this policy, but of
District
or other
policy.
district policy.
Mm-hmm.
Any policy.
Good catch. Actually, let's do this so we can really see where we are. Can we scroll down again? Sorry.
Who is the designee? That's used a bunch of times. Principal and designee. Who is that
It could be
referring to?
the assistant principal.
Oh,
or-
gotcha. Okay.
It's whoever they appoint, but
Mhm.
we're kind of going back to the fact that you're the principal.
Mhm.
And even if you do appoint someone to sort of stand in your shoes,
You're
bottom
still
line, the buck
ultimately-
stops with you.
Got
So
it,
we're
okay.
removing designee.
Oh, we are removing it.
We
Mhm.
have
Oh,
been.
awesome.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
that was my.
Nothing drives me
Because there is
crazier
some
than
sense
that.
of it's implied, like you might, you're the acting person, but it's all gonna, the principal basically oversees it.
Okay.
He's held accountable,
Mm-hmm.
or she's held accountable.
We don't have a student body account though. We have all sorts of L accounts and things that were, some of us crazy. So where are the funds kept then if we're requiring clubs to, sponsored clubs to turn them into?
Good question, I'll
Okay.
ask. Cause like if they fundraise or something.
Yeah, I would think they should have their own account. I don't think it should be
I
muddied.
think, I think they do, I just don't know what it's titled, because a lot of the, like I know like at Timberlake, the senior class will do a bunch of stuff and then they donate money back to, there's various things that happen, so I'll find out specifically what it's called and the money side of that.
Okay.
Cause do they do stuff to help pay for, to do stuff for prom, and so I'll find out specifics.
And then, I guess maybe I'm not understanding. Requests for the expenditure of club or organization. Now we're bringing in organizations. No, it's club
Mhm.
funds. Okay. Oops. I think some people just get to type in and add in words and we don't remember what we're talking about. Here we go. Okay, so requests for the expenditure of club funds may be made through the club officers and advisor. We don't have an advisor,
That would
we
be
have
the
a
sponsor.
sponsor.
Mhm. They're just interchanging the word
With final approval of the principal. Why is the principal giving final approval?
of, where are you at?
I'm on C,
The bottom.
for sponsored clubs.
Top of the 3rd page.
Yeah.
So you're saying, is it unnecessary for the principal to give final
Well, I
approval?
mean,
Like-
could it be to to monitor the activities that the funds are being expended for?
Well, but the policy says that if you're the sponsor, like you're gonna check in with the principal on all things
Oh.
related to that club anyways.
Right, so I don't understand why the
Mhm.
principal
So that's
would need,
just redundant.
because then the principal's overseeing the club, if you really think about it, not the sponsor.
Right.
And those monies shouldn't be being filtered through the school.
Mhm.
I mean, I get that we're putting them in their own account because if a club raises money, they should have access to the money they raise. I don't think it should be divvied up amongst everybody and their brother. I mean, unless that's what we do with everything, which I don't think we do. So yeah, I mean, unless there's some
Well, typically,
legality
like,
reason.
they will know why if they are raising money, it's for the dance, it's for a specific reason, and so then it's
Right.
just a matter of it goes to whatever
Right.
you raised money for.
Could be just to have another adult double check, since it's money and not
Well,
just.
that already has to go, it would go through the bookkeeper, so there'd already be a second adult overseeing anyways.
Okay, so then
So, yeah,
it's probably redundant.
I can ask more detail specific to see.
Well, I would think the request for expenditures would be made by the club officers,
Mm-hmm.
but then approved by the sponsor.
Mm-hmm. But ultimately, everything, if it's going to Skyward, goes to the principal, they have to ultimately approve it.
They do?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so,
Like, then it would come to, yeah.
so like if the football team wants to buy new helmets, they put in a thing and the principal approves it?
Mhm.
Okay, well then, alright, so then, and the sponsor with final approval of the principal.
It was just the Skyward process.
Okay.
I'll double
I
check
don't
on
like
that, but
it,
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
Because it's coming out of, I mean, that's how they're monitoring the budgets.
okay.
So I'll double check, but I'm pretty sure.
Do the sports teams raise money specifically for
Mhm.
helmets? That doesn't come out of the district budget?
Booster club usually.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It depends. I mean, we used to not be able to do any fundraising, so, but in years past, absolutely. So they would, I mean, they do the car raffle and
Yeah,
some of
silent
that
But these
auction.
last
Yeah,
few
I
years,
did
it's
a-
come
yeah,
out of the
full
budget,
raffles,
it's
yeah.
not come out of their,
Uh-huh.
yeah, the district has paid for new uniforms and helmets and all sorts of stuff,
But
so.
some of the gate money gets to go towards some of that, and then some, you know, the money from the.
This is the sponsor.
Oh, well, you know, I didn't have my glasses on.
And I
So-
think we need to delete the organizations above the yellow part too, since we deleted it.
Oh,
Oh,
yes.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Nice work.
But I'll clarify on C what the exact process is, like step 1, step 2, does it go from the sponsor to the bookkeeper to the, you know,
Okay.
I'll clarify.
Are you on the last part, Dave, there?
I am.
I don't know what the disclaimer means. A disclaimer of what?
I assume that means if it's a sponsored or a non-sponsored, like so if it's a non-sponsored, then it's not affiliated with the school.
So you probably don't need that anymore then?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, that A
I would
is all
just say
part of the
that-
non-sponsors.
Yeah, I would just say club posters and content and placement have to be approved by the principal
So
and or
club-
sponsor.
Yeah, club poster content and placement.
Mm-hmm.
But you also have that under D too.
Yeah, 'cause this one goes to, yeah, guess it's the difference between sponsored and non-sponsored. That whole disclaimer part is specific to non-sponsored.
Well, under D, we're saying the content and placement
Yeah.
is
And by the
approved
sponsor.
by the sponsor.
Right.
And then over here, we're saying.
And then in A1, we said it
Oh,
was by
yeah.
the principal.
Yeah, that's confusing.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. We're taking the word designee out until we figure out what we're doing.
I think you could take all of A completely out.
That's what I was thinking. I thought it had to do with the non-sponsored clubs part.
Yeah.
Okay, Okay, well, if that's the case, then we should be taking out 2 as well.
Mm-hmm.
So
The whole,
we
all
don't
A
have an
plus
equal
2.
access. There is no equal access here. Not allowed. We could potentially,
I
You
just
could
think-
just state all students have equal access to all clubs.
Right.
Right.
Well, and at the very top, it says student, we gotta take this out, and organization, so I'm gonna strike through right there.
perfect.
The very top, it says student clubs, semicolon, or colon, equal access, so,
Yeah, so equal access is pretty much specific to non-curriculum clubs,
Oh.
according to this blog post. Curricular clubs, there's no sponsorship. Employees, okay. Alright, so yeah. Alright. Okay.
so my question before we go to our norms is, do we wanna wait and have some clarity on some of these questions before we send this out for parent input, or do you want me to, we're gonna create a survey and send this out for feedback?
What do you all think?
Is the first part you were saying, like finding out how many of these other non-sponsored clubs?
So
there
the question was, how many actual clubs do we have in each of the categories at each of the schools, because not all of them are the same, and then a little bit more clarity on number C specific to the money side of it. I don't know that that is that big of a deal in the sense of it's just putting the procedural piece in. If we send this out now, we will come back the week after, we come back from Thanksgiving, we can look at it, and then potentially it could be on the December board meeting. If we don't send it out now, it won't make it till the January board meeting.
Sounded like the board kind of wanted it sooner, so.
We do.
I would send it out now. That whole equal access, risk and liability, in today's sue happy world, I think it's just a liability the district doesn't need to open itself up to.
Yeah.
So, Michelle, you good if we send this out 3225?
Yeah.
Okay.
No. Yeah, okay. Oh, I see what they did.
I
Okay.
just wanna make sure that something, oh, it was taken
I'm
out,
just
I
trying
would just
to
back up a
see.
little bit, it's just the first, the A, B, C, D is what I was reading. That was taken out, okay.
What's this? Oh, yes. So do we not have this policy up on the website? 3225? We should.
Can you not find it?
Well, what I can't find and I'm trying to understand, because we used to have our policy, the draft policy, and ISBA's policy. And on our policy would be the date, because this policy doesn't have a date
I
on
know.
it, and it needs to have the date on it.
We do have this on our district website, but the one that is posted
Doesn't have
does
a
not
date?
have a date.
Okay, well, que sera, sera. Alright,
Okay, so we're gonna move forward with this one going out for parent input. So we'll
Yes,
send it
please.
out by Friday. Rosanna will make it tomorrow.
Yes, ma'am.
Does that work?
Yep.
Okay, so do we wanna, now that we have parents coming,
Mhm.
just to kinda streamline stuff, do we wanna talk about some practice procedures, maybe some norms, so we can streamline?
sure, that'd be great.
What do you guys think? We're all looking at me. So typically, like when we bring a bunch of people together, like we talk about, okay, everybody, somebody's always a timer. There's always somebody that's monitoring the time so that we're protecting everybody's time. We talk about, you know, we're not talking over people, we minimize side conversations, we don't really have a problem with that. I think, some of our, typically what we've done when there's just been the kind of the four of us, it's we send out that green sheet 2 days beforehand, people kind of look at it, and then we just start going into the policy. One of the things that
Protocol.
Yeah.
Nope, you're good. No.
So one of the things that we talked about is, do we send this doc out like a week in advance, and so then people come and you have these are the things that are gonna be on the docket for this, and so then you have a chance to kind of read it beforehand.
People who are signed up for the policy committee.
Yeah, that are, you know, consistently attending, just because we have so many policies to get through that if we get into the weeds of trying
Right.
to like, we wanna look at 20 different policies, we never get through them, and we still have annual policies that we're trying to get to, so we wanna protect it and keep it at 2 hours for people, cause it's right during dinner time, so what's the fastest, not compromising quality, but what's the way to streamline it so that we're prepared, we're hitting the ground running. So that was really kind of what we talked about, but still, like, we're so happy people are coming, so I don't want it to dissuade people from speaking up, but if, you know, if we get into the minutia, then we're gonna spend, you know, weeks on the same policy because we're looking at 20 different policies and
Like
so-
strongly suggest, you like send out these policies and not just this in advance, and like strongly suggest that they be read and commented on in advance, or
what do you think
That
is
would
a
help
timely,
me.
what do you think is a week enough?
Oh, yeah.
I'd rather
Oh,
have
yeah.
less.
Yes.
Give us
I've gotta
2
read
hours.
the
Yeah,
sure.
no, Nate, no.
So
Nate.
one of the things that Board Chair Thompson and I talked about, and Roseanne and I have talked about it too, is maybe having, and if you guys are good with this, we could start it in December. But like, here is the policies, cause like today we had kind of, here's some ideas, but we kind of skipped around because sometimes other pressing things come up. But
Yeah.
like, here's the policies for the month of December that we're relatively going to look at. And we post that for everybody, but then you guys, we're sending this out of, here is ISBA's. And now that you guys know, like, okay, so like, because that's the other piece, is then you're explaining what ISBA is so
Yeah.
here's ISBA's, here's our old existing one if that exists, and then here is our draft one, and so then you guys are all prepped with that.
Well, and so you understand, the draft one is typically the merger of ISBA's with Lakeland's, so we can see what language are they proposing, what did we have in ours, and if there isn't any change, then there aren't any colors on the draft document. It's, you know, it was exactly the same, word for word.
And I can send you guys our protocol that kind of explains all that, because sometimes we might see a policy where we don't really love what we had. We also don't love what ISBA had, but maybe Coeur d'Alene did it really well that we like it, or Lewiston has a great one, and so there might sometimes be additional policies that are just there. So if in our practice we send it out a week in advance, and then please have these read prior to the policy meeting. And again, I'm not trying to be bossy, but just so that we're getting through it, and that people feel like they can come, because what we don't want is people coming in and feeling like I can't really say anything because I haven't had a chance to read this, and so I'm just not going to give input, because that's what we're hoping for, is a lot of input. So
I recommend sending them in a format that doesn't require you to log in, because you guys have sent me ones a few times and I go to access and I can't log in because
Okay.
I sent
Oh,
my
I got
Hotmail
access
account
really
and I don't have
quickly.
access.
Thank you.
to my
yeah, I
Hotmail
try to
account,
be
only my
really,
Gmail
but
account.
I could PDF it. That's not hard.
That's probably the way to do it, I think.
Yeah, I can't ever, I don't know if I'm supposed to, but like, I'll try to click on these and it says like log in, and
Right,
so
yeah,
then
I've
I'll
got the
log in,
exact
but
same
it
thing.
won't ever let me.
So
Right,
if we
yeah.
send this out a PDF version, that would help.
Yeah,
That would help,
yeah, because
yeah.
if I'm out, I can look on my phone without having to
Right.
log in
Right.
on my.
Yeah.
So what I'm hearing you say is we send out the green sheet 1 week prior. And then do you like the idea of a month at a glance? Because typically we have 2 in a month, 2 board, policy meetings in a month. And so then these are kind of the 3 or 4 we're looking at. And so we can send out a month at a glance, but then specifically the green sheet of, you know, and that can all be included, and Roseanne and I can work on our first kind of rough draft of what that looks like, and you can give us feedback.
I mean, the green sheet isn't going to be as helpful as the actual policy. Like, green sheet, I can look at in 30 seconds. But
Right, no, and we'll
Okay.
separate that out.
Okay.
But just so you can see what's coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, I
what-
like being able to read it ahead of time.
Yeah. And if
I
it
do
can
too.
be clear to like, either there is no existing policy, so these are just ones we're
Okay.
looking at, or here is the existing, and then
So we
here's some other
can,
versions.
we can give some more context in the email. That would help.
Yeah.
That's a really good idea, because I could print it out, you could mark it up, you can come ready to
Mhm.
discuss, as opposed to taking, I mean, it takes me 10 minutes sometimes
Okay.
to read through stuff.
Yeah, it was
More
And understand what I'm
context,
reading.
PDF everything. So then, anything that you feel like we need to put in place for the actual meeting. I just really want to respect everybody's time and respect everybody's voice, but we do have to get through policy.
I know, it's tricky.
We could spend 4 weeks on a dog policy though.
We did.
Hey, now.
We did. Are we still recording?
Yes.
Okay.
That just seems so cut and dry, the dog policy.
You would think.
Does it?
Yeah, I don't know either, because sometimes things kind of head off into the weeds, and it's
Mhm.
hard to.
There's gonna be some policies that are gonna be extremely controversial versus others.
Right?
That's gonna require that type of time.
Yeah.
But we've had non-controversial that have been in the weeds, and so that's what, and I don't, again, wanna,
Do you have ideas?
Do you have a strong
for-
facilitator? Gavel?
That is often a solution. Like
Give
having a
Michelle the
strong
gavel.
facilitator.
That is the new plan.
I mean, we could put, and I mean, I could facilitate that, but we could put a time limit on, we're gonna spend this much time on this
Yeah.
policy, we're gonna spend this much time on this policy.
Yeah.
And, you know, like, there's definitely policies, part of the reason why the dog policy took so long is because we were starting from scratch, we didn't have anything, and so we were looking at multiple policies, so if we know that, then we can have an allotment of time. But other things that maybe have the policies that haven't been updated since 2007 are gonna take a little bit longer, because like, we're really trying to, and not do cross-reference where they're integrated in multiple, but then does the policy actually, you know, align with the current practice? Because there's a lot of situations where that's not even what we do or how we do it, but it's never been, nobody's updated the policy, so those take a little bit longer. So if I do a policy time limit, and then I just then say, okay, you guys, we've been on this one, we're gonna move to the next one, so we start getting through it, and then the team can decide, like, no, we wanna take a little bit longer, we're close, kind of a
Yeah.
thing. Okay.
So 30 minutes for each policy, does that seem fair to start with? I mean, we had a few policies that came up, and it's like, we're so way off base for what we actually did practice-wise.
Right.
So that took us a couple days to get through, or a couple meetings to get through, because I'm like, well, if that's what we do, then write that in the policy. Let's not throw these words around and try and just,
What if when I send out the month at a glance per policy, I kind of give a guesstimated allotment? Because like, I feel like I would be able to look at the policy and go, oh yeah, this is gonna be meaty because we don't do any of this, or that kind, and so I can say this might be a little bit longer, and then you guys.
Perfect.
We can put it to a vote if we need to spend more time on it.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
I think
Yeah.
that's great.
Okay.
I think also maybe if somebody is talking and then someone else jumps over them a few times, maybe Lynn, you could
You're
direct it
maybe
back to the
bad
person
guy.
who interrupted. Yeah, like you.
Well, I think we can just say no interruptions, every voice matters.
Right,
And
don't
so
interrupt
we're
each
not
other.
gonna talk over each other. Yeah.
Raise hands.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
then
there you
I
go.
can be the bad guy. Hello. This was one of our norms.
One of
I mean, we have to do it sometimes.
Maybe we'll have a policy. You never know.
Spend 8 weeks on it.
Yeah. Sometimes we have to, and I have to remind people, remember, we're not having side conversations. Anything else you guys can think of? Okay, I think this will help. I just really I don't want to compromise everything we're doing, and I really want everybody to feel like they can come and really give input, and the less prepared, and so, I mean, you know, we get to see all this all the time, and so I just want you guys to feel like you can really come and provide input, because I've given you ample time to really look at it and feel like, okay, you know.
You know what? And this is actually really good because sometimes I go and do research and then that helps me inform it.
And we
Mhm.
love that, to tell you the
Mhm.
truth. Ramona, when she's able to come, she's
Mhm.
huge into
Mhm.
researching. I mean, she's all over that. And I do my best, but I've been slacking lately, so not gonna lie.
No, you have a lot on your plate.
So,
Okay, I think we're good to stop
Anything else you
recording.
wanna add?
I think we're good. Thank you guys.
yeah.
Thank you.